It was meant to be a quiet retreat, a summer getaway far from the buzz of phones and the chaos of city life. 4 friends had booked a series of old forest cabins listed as rustic and offline. That's exactly what they wanted. Among the group, one cabin stood out. Cabin 6. It was the farthest from the entrance, sitting half sunken in weeds and silent. Said it was just some creepy prank by the owners, maybe an inside joke for campers. Deep, with uneven strokes like someone had scratched them in a panic. While the other cabins had string lights and modernized locks, Cabin 6 looked untouched for decades. Dusty windows, a rotted porch, and a rusted plaque above the door that read, "A fireplace that hadn't been used in years," and a single window overlooking the tree line. Hikes, laughter, campfire stories. When night came, everyone turned in, tired and content. Never leave the window open after midnight. They all joked about it, of course. But something about that plaque didn't sit right. The letters weren't painted, they were carved. Still, they shrugged it off and stepped inside. The inside was cleaner than expected. A bit of a musky smell, a row of bunk beds. The first day passed like any good summer evening. That first night, nothing happened. A chill, out of nowhere, slithered through the room. Someone stood on a top bunk, pulling the blanket tighter. The second night, however, was different. A single syllable, softly repeated with unnatural rhythm. But it wasn't anyone's name they recognized, like distant voices underwater, coming from near the window. At 12:03 a.m., the air inside Cabin 6 dropped suddenly. No details, just as shadowed with edges that shimmered like heat waves. The wind rustled the leaves outside. That's when the whispering started. Very faint. One of them opened their eyes and sat up slowly. No footprints, no note, just gone. Outside, nothing moved. But the whispering grew clearer, not louder, just more focused. It sounded like someone was saying a name, over and over. They walked to the window, unsure why they were even drawn to it. It was open. Had someone left it like that? They remembered the plaque, "Never leave the window open after midnight." They'd reached to shut it, then paused. Something was reflected in the glass. Not behind them, not from inside the room. It was standing just outside, staring in. But the reflection was wrong. It was shaped like a person, but his arms were too long, head slightly tilted. They turned around. Instantly nothing was there, just huddled into bunks. Lights off, eyes wide in the dark. They slammed the window shut. Morning came quietly, but one bed was empty. The blanket looked undisturbed, almost untouched. No signs of a struggle. The others assumed maybe someone went for a hike early. There was nothing under their bed but darkness and breathing. But as the day passed, no one came back. They checked every trail, called out. By sunset, they finally contacted the small ranger station nearby. The officer who arrived looked weathered, like someone who'd seen more than a few strange things in these woods. When told which cabin they were staying in, the ranger's face dropped. "Cabin 6, that one should be locked. No one's used it in years." They asked why. He didn't answer. He only said, "If anything strange happens tonight, don't open the window." A ranger checked it once a year, just to ensure no campers wandered in. That night, tension filled the air like static. They didn't joke anymore, didn't speak much. At 12:14 a.m., the whispering returned. This time, louder, inside the room. And it wasn't one voice. It was 2. They were whispering from under the beds. Slowly, the one closest to the window turned their head. They didn't move, didn't speak, just listened. Then, a third voice joined. It came from the window that despite being shut was now dripping. And that voice said clearly, "I'm still here." The lights flickered once, then again. Then they heard the unmistakable sound of the front door unlocking. But they had locked it from the inside. The door creaked open slowly. No footsteps, no movement, just the cold. And the whisper, "You spoke to me, now I stay." They never saw the others again. Cabin 6 remained empty after that night. But something new had been carved into the wood above the window. In long, shaky lines. "It gets in when you speak, and it never leaves." And below it, 4 names, one of them scratched out. There's a number no one talks about. Not online, not in old forums, not even in the darkest corners of the deep web. Not because it's dangerous to call, but because it calls you first. It always begins with a text. It was the middle of summer when the message came through. No contact, no number, just missed call. Try again. Number 00444. No source, just a string of zeros and fours. Weird, right? There was no country code. They stared at it for a minute, assuming it was spam, maybe some scam, maybe some weird signet interference. But curiosity, it does things to the brain. It makes you swipe. It makes you click. So, they called it. The screen didn't ring. It glitched. The background turned black. The call screen disappeared. Then a distorted voice answered, not speaking, repeating the same words over and over. You already did. You already did. They hung up fast. Just a glitch, right? But then the phone wouldn't turn off. The screen stayed lit. The battery percentage froze at 66%. Then came the knock. Not on the door. Not on the window. From inside the phone, a sound knock. Knock knock, she echoed from the speaker. But it didn't match any notification. No app was open. No sound file was playing. The knock got louder. 3 knocks. Then breathing. They powered the phone down by holding the button. It finally went dark. For a while, everything felt normal. Until midnight. They were lying in bed when the phone still off vibrated. They picked it up. Still off. But there was a glow behind the screen. And on it, faint but visible, was a timer. Not like a sea cold. Like something invisible was pulling the warmth out of their bones. 0 hours, 4 minutes and 4 seconds. They tried plugging the phone in. Tried restarting it. Nothing worked. It began counting down. They panicked. And with every second that passed, the air in the room grew colder. At 0 hours, 1 minute and 17 seconds, the phone unlocked itself. The call screen appeared again. It was already ringing someone, calling. They threw the phone. It slid across the floor and stopped just at the base of the bed. Ringing, flashing, hit 0 hours, 0 minutes and 0 seconds. The call connected. And that same voice, no longer destroyed, whispered. No sound, no breathing. They grabbed a flashlight, crawled to the far side of the room. Nothing under the bed, nothing behind the curtains. Just the phone. Still unlocked. Still glowing. They reset it the next day. Factory wipe. New SIM. Clean slate. It worked. For 24 hours. Then the message came back. Missed call. Try again. Number 0044044. They weren't the only one. There are message boards buried deep in Internet archive. Some say they called it after dreams of static rooms and whispering mirrors. Others claim it appears only after you break a certain pattern. Scroll too long on social media. Speak a number aloud in a dream. Cross an intersection at 4:04 a.m. It doesn't call everyone. Only the ones who notice things. Each photo was of them sleeping, taken from inches above their face. The worst stories come from those who tried to block the number. One user claimed their phone began taking photos on its own, always at exactly 4:04. Another said they woke up to find hundreds of images in their gallery, but no one else was in the room. You're probably thinking, just throw away the phone. Some did, but the number isn't bound to devices. Once you've dialed it, once you've heard the voice, you carry the connection inside you. It doesn't need screens anymore. Recovered from an abandoned building after a local power outage. Here's where it gets worse. Strange sketches. Notes that repeat phrases like, the last recorded user to interact with the number didn't own a phone at all. The incident was found in a lost journal. The journal is filled with don't remember. On the final page, written in shaky letters. The call is not a call. It's a door. It doesn't open from our side. No one's found what's behind it. Some think it's a loop of code written into reality, searching for pattern. Others say it's something ancient, using modern tech as a mirror. And the most popular theory, that it's not trying to hurt you, it's trying to replace you. Every time someone answers the call, someone else stops existing. Not disappears. Just never was. So if your phone lights up at night with no number, if you see number 0044044 in your call history, if you hear a knock that doesn't match your room, don't respond. Don't even remember this story. Because the moment you do, it remembers you.
Story 3.
It started the first night in Unit 9. Not a creak, not pipes, not footsteps. A sound, low, pulsing, like a hum, buried beneath the floor. Not mechanical, not human. Something, ... It came from directly under the bed. Not through walls or vents, but from beneath the floorboards. Like there was space under the apartment that shouldn't exist. Carpet, dust, no source. They got down, checked under the bed, but the sound was there. Faint, rhythmic, like something was breathing slowly underground. They turned on music. They moved the bed across the room. The sound followed. By night 3, they began to feel it. Not just hear it. In their legs, in their chest. Like the vibration of something huge. Just waiting under the floor. And then came the dreams. They'd wake up at exactly 3:36 a.m. Unable to move. Not frightened at first. Just still. Eyes wide open. Staring at the ceiling. Except it wasn't the ceiling. It was a shape. Not quite above them. Not quite touching. Floating. Watching. Eyes slowly blinking one at a time. Then the feeling would come. Like someone was whispering just below the eardrum, saying nothing and everything at once. They'd wake up, soaked in sweat. The room silent again, but the hum remained. Week 2, they brought in a sound meter, just for peace of mind. It didn't pick up anything unusual, until they set it on the floor. Then it spiked. Readings in the 50 to 60 decibels range, like quiet conversation, except there was no one below Unit 9. The building's blueprints were clear. Unit 9 is ground level. Beneath it, just concrete and dirt. They asked the landlord. The reply was instant. There's no... But this wasn't pipes. This was rhythmic, and it had changed. No longer a hum, but something closer to a chant. 3 syllables, impossible to remember after hearing them. The sound the brain tried to delete. They recorded it, uploaded the clip to a private drive. The file name changed on its own. welcome_home.wav. They deleted. It reappeared the next morning. That night, the dream returned. Only this time, they weren't lying down. They were standing at the base of a staircase, surrounded by darkness. Each step was made of bone, wet and echoing. The air smelled like salt and static. A voice, their own voice, came from below. Just one more floor. They woke up with blood under their fingernails, but no wounds. They stopped sleeping. 3 days without rest. The sound got louder, closer, the chant clearer. Words they still couldn't remember by morning. Then, on day 4, the hum stopped. At first, it felt like relief. Until the silence got heavy. The kind of silence that fills a room like water. Thick, pressing. Then came the knock. Not at the door. From underneath. 3 slow knocks. Then scratching, like nails on stone. They placed their ear to the floor. And from beneath it, faint and unmistakable, came their own voice. Don't let them in. That was the last time they were seen outside the apartment. Neighbors reported seeing lights flicker at 3:36 a.m. every night for a week straight. No one responded to knocks. Eventually, the landlord opened Unit 9. The room was empty. Furniture untouched. Bed made, except for one thing. A fresh crack had appeared in the floor. Perfectly rectangular. 2 feet wide. 6 feet long. It pulsed, ever so slightly. Almost like it was breathing. Next to it was a small recording device. It contained one file. They're still dreaming, but now they dream of you.